best sports talk in Middle Tennessee. It's the George Plaster Show, featuring Tennessee Sports Hall of Famers Kelly Holcomb and young gun Billy Derrick. And now, here's your host, George Plaster.
Hello again, everybody. Welcome in. It is not nearly as hot as it has been. In fact, let me take a look at the temp real quick here. The temperature at the moment is 80 degrees, and man, that is appreciated. So, not Fordyce Center today. We'll be back there tomorrow. Kelly, I think, is on by phone. Billy is at...
working on that right now.
Are we now?
We've made every effort to get Kelly Holcomb into the show.
Oh, so he's halfway in Egypt somewhere.
Yeah, he was going to come out to Fordyce Center in Bellevue, but he went to Antioch. No, I'm kidding.
So, Billy, yeah, really. So, I was in Little Rock Thursday and Friday to celebrate my aunt and uncle's 65th wedding anniversary. That's on my dad's side. That's his brother, my Uncle George, and had a really nice time.
What'd you get into out there?
Well, they had a cocktail party on Thursday night where I had to dress really nice, very proud of myself. And then on Friday, they had a dinner of those of us, I guess, family members. And so I left and came back on Saturday morning, and that's what we did.
Were they calling the hogs out there?
Oh, they're always calling the hogs. You know, it's interesting. In that state, other than UALR, which has excelled some in basketball, there's really nothing else to root for.
Yeah, I'm curious. Like, who are the pro teams they root for? Because they're kind of, like you said, they're out there in kind of no man's land.
It appears to be kind of a Cardinals city, but they're not any happier with the Cardinals than I am with the Braves. You know, for the first time, I'm really kind of wondering what the hell's going on down there. I have been a big fan of Alex Anthopoulos, but I don't know what the hell the plan is anymore. We go to the deadline. You know, it's pretty obvious that they're not going to re-sign Marcell Ozuna. They're not going to sign Raisel Iglesias. Why are they still on this roster? I mean,
yeah, I tried to ask Danny that too. Like, what does that mean? What does that tell you that Ozuna wasn't moved, if anything?
Well, Ozuna's had a hip injury all year long that has curtailed his production. I'm guessing they're saying they really weren't able to get much. Raisel Iglesias, to me, is a totally different story. Every reliever worth a hoot that was rumored got moved except him. I don't know what we're doing, and I admit I don't. I don't have a clue anymore.
It's hard to tell. And I mean, I know they got to win Saturday, but it's not much of a consolation prize.
No. And that whole deal up in Bristol, man, am I glad I didn't go.
Oh my gosh. I'm going to get into that in the update because that wasn't necessarily a smooth ride for Major League Baseball.
So are we now officially into the update?
We are. We've got Kelly with us now.
Oh, well, that's exciting. Let me ask this before we go with Kelly. Has Raj from El Paso resurfaced?
I don't have word that Raj has resurfaced yet, but efforting to get Raj to call back in.
No, I don't think we are, to be honest. Kelly, how you doing?
I'm doing good, man. How you guys doing? Just driving.
Okay, where exactly are you?
Well, yesterday I told you the story. We flew my son home because you got a regional airport in Valdosta, so we got him home quick, and then we had to bring some stuff back to him. So we did the Chattanooga Atlanta ruckus yesterday and got into all kind of traffic. It was 8 hours. What should have took us 6 took us 8. And me and my wife said, let's just try a new way. So it's a little bit longer. We went through, Troy, and we went through Montgomery, and we've gone through Birmingham. So we're headed up 65 right now. We're not too far.
Okay. Safe travels.
Yeah, I
Billy
appreciate
has
it. It's a lot better on my nerves than it was going through Atlanta, which I'm good with.
So, Kelly, I don't know if I've ever told you the story. I think it was the last game I ever did at Vandy. Was an NIT game at Georgia, and I didn't fly with the team, but I drove the morning of, got into a wreck near Chattanooga, Atlanta traffic. I arrived 8 minutes before tip-off at the I don't know what they call the Georgia. It was the Georgia Coliseum back then. I don't know what it is now, but you talk about nerves shot.
I can't imagine, George, because I would have been sweating bullets at that point.
Oh, it was crazy. Anyway, Billy, you have an update?
I do. It's
Does it
brought
have
to you
like meat on the bone, or is it just a bunch of crud?
No, this is good meat on the bone right here.
Yeah.
In today's update, it's brought to you by the Music City Showdown between Tennessee and Illinois, Saturday, December the 6th at Bridgestone Arena. Tickets on sale now at Ticketmaster.com. Well, you mentioned the Speedway Classic. Despite rain and logistical issues, they did break the regular season game record for tickets sold. The official number of tickets sold was 91,032. The previous milestone was 84,587 back in 1954, as we've talked about. But it wasn't necessarily a smooth ride for the fans there. Many concession stands ran out of food during the first rain delay, which lasted over 2 hours. And according to a fan who spoke to The Athletic over the weekend, they said it was the worst logistical experience they've ever experienced. They ran out of food and beer, and the fan zone was underwhelming. And that's the last thing you wanted to have happen if you're Major League Baseball. Not to say that it wasn't still a big crowd and the people that stuck through it enjoyed it, but that's not how you wanted that to go.
So a couple of things that struck me. Number one, they should never have started the game Saturday night.
Yeah.
And my guess is that Fox pressured them into trying it, but 10 minutes after they started, then you've got a second downpour. The infield looked like crap. Water glazed, whatever that surface was, really quick. And one thing I couldn't figure out, so Fox has this long rain delay. What was the amount of time you said on the first one?
2 hours and 17 minutes.
So why did they keep it there? Because they've got this, the guys that handle their pre and post in a 2 hour plus deal.
Yeah, they were just interviewing player after player in the dugout, and I'm like, what are we doing?
They would have interviewed Kelly if he had been there.
That'd have been the best interview they had too.
I don't doubt that.
I mean, it's like they just wanted to fill that time and keep showing overhead shots and cutting into interviews. I didn't get it.
Well, first of all, there's nothing you can do about Mother Nature. Mother Nature is going to stay unbeaten forever and ever. There's nothing you can do about that. But I'll be honest, this never particularly excited me. Now, if the Braves were in contention, would I have gone? Probably so. But the thought of 90,000 people trying to get out of Bristol at the same time, if it'd been a normal game, and then, okay, go back, for those who are watching the podcast, go back to the pictures. Here's what you got. Most of those people in the outfield, home plate looks like stick men. They're not
Yeah.
seeing anything. It's just simply the ability to say, I was there. And I'll be honest, I'll proudly say I wasn't there.
Well, I hate it.
Guys, will we see that more in the future with them trying to do things like that? Or I know that Bristol's had the football game with UT and Virginia Tech there, but, Bristol's one of the smaller racetracks. But will you see something like that in the future, you think?
I don't know. I mean, they've had success in other things that they've done. Hockey has used this model for New Year's Day games and all that kind of stuff. But I don't know. I would think this one went down as a little bit of a disaster.
Yeah.
I feel for Chase Burns and people that bet on the strikeout prop for Chase Burns as well. Sportsbooks scammed everyone who bet the Chase Burns over-under for strikeouts. It was 7.5, but of course the game gets delayed. The MLB starts the game. Chase Burns punches a couple of guys out in the first inning. He throws 18 pitches, and then in the bottom of the first inning, the game gets suspended. So it resumes on Sunday, and he doesn't start. And all sports books across the country give his over strikeouts a loss.
Well, you know what? That's a ripoff.
Yeah, and there's a bunch of people that weren't happy about it. He was on track for a perfect game with 18 strikeouts before the game was postponed. And, I think he was ripped off. Obviously, it's Mother Nature. Look, they weren't going to play the game that night, but I hate it for him.
Well, Billy, what I've always heard was that if a game got suspended, it simply becomes no bet.
Right.
There's a class action lawsuit waiting to happen there because that's not right.
So on top of everything else MLB's dealing with. So you've got that. It was, well, again, they broke the record, but wasn't necessarily the best night for fans and attendance. We do have the college football coaches poll to dive into. Texas is at number 1 for the first time ever. I couldn't believe that. So the Longhorns at number 1. Tennessee is at number 18. Vandy got a few votes as well. Of course, more than half the SEC was represented in the top 25. You got Alabama and LSU inside the top 10. South Carolina and Ole Miss in the top 15. You've also got Florida, Tennessee, and A&M, of course, up there. Not a ton of surprises, but, of course, you got a ton of SEC. And, I mean, Arizona State up there at 11. Alabama and LSU not in the top 5. But now more than ever, I mean, this usually doesn't ever matter, George, but now more than ever, I mean, these things, it's like these coaches are just throwing it up against the wall, see if anything sticks. The SIDs, rather.
Yeah.
So you got the coaches poll. Also, speaking of Tennessee, former Tennessee head coach Derek Dooley is running for the Republican nomination for the U.S. Senate in Georgia. Chris Lowe from ESPN reported that running for office is something Dooley told him has been on his mind for a while. So he's back in the limelight after, I don't even know, when's the last time he coached?
Well, he got fired at Tennessee the morning after James Franklin's Vandy team drilled him.
Yeah.
41-18.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the last we heard of him. But now he was on a Dallas Cowboys staff.
That's right.
Can you say Micah Parsons? God, what is going on down there? Kelly, what the hell is happening in Big D?
I told you all the time what's happening in Big D. It's Jerry Jones. It's just drama all the time, George. There's always going to be drama in Dallas. I mean, even when Aikman was there, I mean, you had to deal with Michael Irvin and, getting arrested and all that stuff. I mean, it's something all the time with Jerry Jones and the Dallas Cowboys. That's their whole mantra is, any publicity is good publicity.
I'm not sure this is.
Yeah.
No,
I'll get.
I kind of feel like that's how he feels sometimes. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
I'll get to Michael Irvin here in just a second with some NFL pieces. But earlier today, Dan Gavitt, the NCAA tournament committee for the men's and women's sectors. He announced today that the men's and women's NCAA tournaments will not be expanding beyond 68 teams this season. Charlie Baker, the NCAA president, also said the biggest challenge with expansion is logistics. But this quote from him was interesting. He said the tournament has to start after the conference championships are over. And right now, Selection Sunday happens like 2 hours after the last tournament game ends and has to finish by the Tuesday before the Masters. There's a lot of room there. Any expansion, we're going to have to figure out how to put it in and then logistically how to make it work. But I hope they don't find a way to make this work. My gut tells me they eventually will get to 72 to 78. I know we've talked about it. I don't like it, but it does sound like they're going to continue to see if they can get there.
Well, logistically, it seems like all they really have to do is find a venue like Dayton and call it the other first four. Let's say it's Nashville. Let's just make that up. You do the same thing you do in Dayton. This whole we can't figure out the logistics, that's not why this didn't happen.
Yeah, that seems like a little bit of a cop-out, but I'm not a fan of this at all. We've also got some NFL pieces to wrap it up. Bills running back James Cook did not participate in training camp for the second straight day as he continues to seek a contract extension. He's in the final year of his rookie deal, so we'll see if anything happens there. Also, Browns rookie quarterback Shedeur Sanders said he doesn't want his father Dion to visit him at training camp, saying he wants to first get where I want to go. Dion told Michael Irvin that Shedeur told him not to visit him at training camp because of the limited reps that he's getting in practice. So, Dad, I don't want you here. I'm not getting any reps, is what that sounds like.
Kelly, one word.
Wow.
Whatever.
That's a tough situation, though, man. They got a loaded. I think George is right. I think I think you could have a Kenny Pickett deal where he might, he could be the odd man out. Who knows? I mean, you got Joe Flacco, and you got Deshaun Watson, who's gone for the year. Is that what you said, George? He's gone, I think. Which, yeah. So, I mean, they got a loaded room right now, so something's going to happen. And they've got the Dylan Gabriel kid, who's a pretty good player. So they've got guys there. So, I mean, it could be a Kenny Pickett sweepstake for somebody. And if somebody needs, an emergency guy, maybe the Titans or somebody, you might look there. I don't know.
Yeah, that one's going to get rumored. If Kenny Pickett ends up being a guy that they trade, you'll hear Tennessee's name come up. Right now, Brandon Allen is the backup. And by the way, Billy, are we in a position to run our cheesy commercial about what we're doing Saturday?
I actually almost have that ready. So how about next segment?
Okay, we'll do that.
Speaking
of
tuned.
Next segment, after the break, ESPN put together a list of 32 teams that they say have a 10% or better chance of making the college football playoff. We are going to talk about that list and critique it when we come back. This is 94.9 The Fan.
When I got my first car, my dad told me, keep the gas tank full and my number on speed dial. Now parents are telling their kids, save 615-242-9000 just in case. I'm Blair Durham. If you or someone you love is in a wreck, call us. We're here to get you the money you deserve. When I got my
Attention, Big Orange Country. Tennessee and Illinois will square off Saturday, December the 6th at Bridgestone Arena. This is the rematch of a great college basketball game last season in Champaign that went right to the wire. And this one figures to be more of the same. Tickets are on sale now. You can grab your seats by going to Ticketmaster.com. That's Ticketmaster.com. Tennessee, Illinois. It's big time. It's easy to say good things about the folks at Strike and Spare Family Fun Centers. Number one, I trust them with something that's near and dear to me, the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night. But more importantly, I see the fun people have. They enjoy the bowling, they enjoy the camaraderie, and you will too. Come by any of their locations and get ready to have some fun.
As the trusted premier custom home builder in Middle Tennessee, Donnelly Timmons has over 20 years of experience in the industry. Whether you're looking to build your dream home or renovate your current home, their team will ensure that every client and every remodel is unique, luxurious, and completed on time within budget. Founders Dustin Timmons and Joey Donnelly have over 25 years of construction experience in the Nashville area. Together, they have completed projects in Forest Hills, Oak Hill, Green Hills, Franklin, and Brentwood. Dustin and Joey believe that communication is the most important aspect of all construction projects. Therefore, they personally manage each project themselves and are involved in job site activities on a daily basis. Their commitment to quality and integrity has earned them an outstanding reputation among their clients. Contact them to set an appointment for a free consultation or to view some of their completed projects. Give them a call at 615-456-7983 or log on to DonnellyTimmons.com.
At Wilson Bank and Trust, we believe you shouldn't have to choose between personal service and digital solutions. As your local independent bank, we're proud to offer the relationships and trusted service you expect, along with the tools and technology that keep you moving forward. So whether you're growing a business, buying a home, or planning for the future, we're here to help. Because this isn't just where we work, it's where we live too. Wilson Bank and Trust, here to get you there. Member FDIC.
Deal with the auto body repair process. We try to simplify that at our 3 convenient locations. We work with all major insurance companies. We help to ease the stress of the auto body repair process. We're located in Old Hickory, Hendersonville, and Gallatin. If you need our services, please stop by and see us.
And how convenient that we have that in the background. Now, seriously, these are good folks. They do really good work. Give them a holler.
It's the George Plaster Show. Your sports live here on 94.9 The Fan.
It's hard to believe we're less than 3 weeks from the first college football stuff, which is Saturday, August 23rd, what is being called Week 0. And then everybody else starts a week later. So ESPN put together a poll of 32 teams that they say have a 10% or better chance of making the playoff. I'm going to read the first 16 because we're going to talk about them for a few minutes. There's one in particular I'm not buying out of the first 16. That list includes, now I'm going by order of how good a shot they think a team has. For instance, Texas is number 1 at 84%. Georgia is second, 79%. Ohio State, 71%. The first 8, I don't think will particularly surprise anybody. Texas, Georgia, Ohio State, Alabama, Penn State, Oregon, Clemson, and Miami. That's 1 through 8. Then you go 9 through 16, and you get Notre Dame, Tennessee, A&M, Ole Miss, LSU, Michigan, Boise State, Tulane. Okay, so Kelly, you've heard the first 16. Which one surprised you the most?
Oh, that's a good question, George. I'm not totally sure. I think Boise State was in the deal last year. They had Ashton Genty, and I think he was like as a group of 5. When you lose a player like that, And I know people probably don't want to hear that because it's Boise State, but like you lose a player like that, that's hard to overcome. He was such a good player. So I don't know. I think there's a lot of, like, you got the Klubnik kid from Clemson. I don't know. He hadn't really set the world on fire, you know, for Clemson. So I'm not too sold on that until he does it. You know, we'll have to see how much better they are. But all this stuff, you know, right now is just a throw up in the air. It's just something to talk about. Yeah, absolutely. I'm not sure. I mean, there's a couple of them, but I think there's so many question marks at the quarterback position this year from all over college football, to be honest with you, that I don't know if you can give a true account of how you think this is going to go for each team. Like you look at Ohio State, and they've got a kid that they don't know anything about, the Sayin kid. You know, they think he's going to start, but they got a competition between another young man there. Gunnar Stockton came in and played for Georgia last year, and you know, he was obviously the guy that lost the game for him, but he's got to play a whole year to see what he can do. So I just think there's so many question marks at the biggest position in football, and that's quarterback right now.
For me, the biggest surprise in that top 16 that I am absolutely not buying is A&M. Every time I saw A&M a year ago against really good competition, they couldn't move the football. Notre Dame throttled them. Texas throttled them. Way too inconsistent for me to say top 16. I'm not buying it. Unless Marcel Reed is way better, and I'm not saying that a year ago when they didn't move the football was his fault, but there's too much at A&M hot and cold. Against really good teams, they can get a damn thing done on offense.
And it's kind of always been like that with A&M. They got so much money, but I'm like you, George. Like that's just another question mark for me. Yeah, Marcel Reed did play some last year, but like he came on to the scene. Like guys are going to be ready and they're going to be prepared. Just like I've talked about with Diego Pavia this coming up year. People are not going to be surprised anymore, and they're not going to be surprised with Marcel Reed either. So he's got to step his game up. And you're right. There's been so many expectations over the years. When Jimbo Fisher got there, he was supposed to take those to an elite level, and he couldn't get it done because we've talked about it. We thought something was going on in the locker room. But it's always something with Texas A&M. We talked about the Dallas Cowboys earlier, but it seems like there's always something going on with A&M, and they got so much talent. They got so much money there, but for some reason they can't get over the hump.
Yeah, they don't call them They don't call them Texas 8-4 for no reason. They just, like you said, they have not been able to get over that hump. I'll say this: the defense under Mike Elko should be really good. They were pretty solid last year. They got a really good running back in Le'Veon Moss. Solid offensive line. It's up to Marcel Reed though. A lot of this season for A&M, and you know you're in the SEC. You're going to have a tough schedule, but they got to win the important games that they've got. I mean, you look at their schedule at Notre Dame week 3, you have to buckle up for that one. And that is a revenge game. Notre Dame beat them last year. They do have to go to Arkansas. They got to go to LSU. They got to go to Texas, of course. So there's really 4 games on their schedule that if they can win 2 of those, they may be a playoff team. But again, it's all up to Marcel. A lot of it is up to Marcel Reed. And that's a lot of pressure for that kid.
So we're sitting here on August the 4th, and, you know, we could probably play the tape in November and laugh at some of the stupid stuff that we might say. I just know that a year ago, and both of these were home games, at home against Notre Dame to start the season, at home against Texas at the end, they didn't move the football a lick. There's no way I'm putting them 11th. LSU, I'm way more excited and believe in LSU, even with Brian Kelly, than I do A&M.
I'm with you. I think LSU, there's pressure on Brian Kelly, but they upgraded with bringing in Blake Baker from Missouri as one of the better defensive coordinators in the country, and you've got the most proven quarterback in the SEC with Garrett Nussmeier. He may not be the most skilled quarterback in the country, Kelly, but he'll take care of the football. He did struggle a little bit with interceptions at times last year, but man, that offense I think can be scary this year.
That's what I was going to say, though, Billy. When you look at quarterbacks and you look at experience coming back, and I just talked about the inexperience of all the quarterbacks coming back in all of college football right now. He's one of the exceptions, Garrett Nussmeier. So they've always got athletes down there. They've always got fan support. They're going to be a really good football team. It's going to be fun to see just how far they can go. And if I heard an interview with Brian Kelly talking about, just how much of a leap that Jaden Daniels made from one year to the next. And he's thinking that Garrett Nussmeier with being in the system and playing a whole year and the experience that he's gotten on the field, which that's the best teacher that you can have is being on the field. I think he takes another step this year, and I think LSU could be in it.
Were y'all surprised that Tennessee made the top 10? Because I was.
I am. So I am because of their. I mean, it's just that we don't know what's happening with quarterback at the quarterback position with those guys. Plus, they got all the stuff happening with Boo Carter and with the locker room stuff. Like, yeah, I was. I am. I'm not sure that they're there yet. I'm not sure how good they're going to be, but that's all speculation before the year, the preseason stuff. We're all talking about it. I'm not sure, but I was surprised that UT was in the top 10. Yes.
Yeah, there's no way they should be close to the top 10. I know the schedule is manageable, and yeah, things go right. Maybe they're on that playoff bubble, but you lost your quarterback, and again, most Tennessee fans are glad that Nico's gone, but he was still a talent. And now with the quarterbacks they've got now, what are you going to get from Joey Aguilar? How much of Jake Merklinger do we see? You lose Dylan Sampson. You lost a lot on the offensive line. Defense will still be good, but you got to score points. And I don't know if what Tennessee has right now can score enough points in enough games.
I didn't think about this until Kelly started to go there. So those of you watching the podcast version of this, you can see the poll, the way Billy put it together. Texas, Georgia, Ohio State, Alabama. That's 1 through 4. What do they all have in common? New starting quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Absolutely. I mean, you look at Drew Aller, the kid at Penn State is coming back, which you saw what he did. I've never been a fan. And then you got Garrett Nussmeier. But then after that, I'm no Marcel Reed, but he's still a young guy. He's not an older guy. He's still a young guy trying to learn his way. But there's not guys like you got Ty Simpson at Alabama. You got these guys that's competing at Ohio State. You got they're talking about a freshman starting for the Michigan Wolverines and Bryce Underwood. You've got I know Cade Klubnik now he's played a bunch, and I'm sure they're liking that we're not talking about Clemson because that's how all coaches are. Dabo Swinney's excited that nobody's really paying them any attention, and maybe Cade Klubnik's gotten a lot better since I've seen him last. I mean, he was all this coming out of high school, out of the the Texas area, one of those Texas guys, and he just hasn't lived up to the billing. And maybe they're a sleeper this year. I don't know, but you look at all those guys, and what I talked about, George, is there's not much experience, and that's what coaches always talk about. You never know how a young guy is going to play the quarterback position, and the way it's gotten in the SEC and the Big Ten and big-time college football, if you don't have that in place, you're going to struggle just like the NFL.
So of those top 4, we feel like we know what Texas is going to get and that it's pretty good with Arch Manning. The other 3, we don't know squat. Now, we have seen Gunnar Stockton. We can at least say he's a tough kid, but mixed results in the 2 games he played in. Ohio State has no clue what they're getting. And frankly, Alabama has no clue what they're getting in Ty Simpson. So are we to believe that all 4 of those quarterback situations turn out great?
I don't think
so.
you can say that, but I don't think you can say that right now at this point in time, but they could turn out great. So that's what makes all this stuff interesting, George. Every year we prognosticate on this stuff and we think, hey, this is going to – and we thought Carson Beck would have had a better season than he had last year, and he ends up getting hurt. But we talked about him. I remember you having me do all the top quarterbacks from 1 through 16 last year, and Carson Beck was at the top of my list. And Carson Beck took a step back last year. He just didn't play well, and I don't know if it was not the same environment around him as he had last year, or the pressure got to him about those guys being up there at the top. So who knows, man? That's what makes this so intriguing year after year coming into the season.
I look at the teams that have proven quarterbacks that have played a lot of football as teams to look out for. Penn State and Drew Aller. I know you said you haven't been the biggest fan of his, Kelly, but he is coming back, and they've got the 2 best running backs in the country. Clemson with Cade Klubnik, very high on them. They do obviously have a tough schedule, but it's not an SEC schedule. You got to play South Carolina, but they're playing an ACC schedule. I think Clemson's has a great shot to make the playoff. Miami is going to be interesting. That Notre Dame game is huge for them early. What do you get from Carson Beck? I could see him having a big chip on his shoulder. I don't know how it necessarily went down at Georgia, and obviously we know about some of the off-field stuff with him, but he's a veteran guy who's played a lot. And so I look at those teams as teams that have advantages. You got Miami at number 8 there, George. I think they could be a team that makes a playoff, and also they're in the ACC. So you've got an added advantage there.
Billy, I have a vision for what they're going to do in that opening game. The sideline will be full on the Miami side of all the convicts, Catholics versus convicts. They're going to bring them all back. What Miami's hoping for is about an 88-degree night with about 92% humidity, and the belief that Notre Dame and South Bend isn't ready for that kind of environment. But I think Notre Dame proved to all of us a year ago that there's a little more there than we were willing to admit. Yeah, that's going to be a hell of a game.
It is Sunday night, and Miami's not known for a raucous environment. So I think there's going to be a lot of Notre Dame.
It will be that night.
I'll be interested. I probably will be, but we haven't seen that in a while. But I'm interested in seeing Lou Holtz and Jimmy Johnson at the coin toss before the game at midfield.
And in fact, Coach Holtz joins us very quickly. Coach, what will that be like?
Son, I'm just going to tell you, like I told you the last time we played, son, I want to be there for the coin toss, and then I want him in the parking lot 15 minutes later.
Who is him?
Jimmy Johnson, son. You know what I'm talking about.
Yes, I do.
I still hold a grudge against that young man, son.
Yes, you've got to let it go. Okay, after the break, we'll get teams 17 through 32 and see what you think, where the surprises, all that kind of stuff. This is 94.9, The Fan.
When I got my first car, my dad told me, keep the gas tank full and my number on speed dial. Now parents are telling their kids, save 615-242-9000 just in case. I'm Blair Durham. If you or someone you love is in a wreck, call us. We're here to get you the money you deserve.
If you are paying too much for your health insurance, you know what? You need to contact the folks at Pancoast Benefits. Pancoast works with businesses and individuals to tackle the high cost of health insurance. Whether you're a business owner, large or small, self-employed, between jobs, or over the age of 65 and in need of a Medicare plan, Pancoast can help. They make understanding your benefits less difficult and more personal. So check them out today, pancoastbenefits.com, or call them at 615-292-3400. Attention, Big Orange Country. Tennessee and Illinois will square off Saturday, December the 6th at Bridgestone Arena. This is the rematch of a great college basketball game last season in Champaign that went right to the wire. And this one figures to be more of the same. Tickets are on sale now. You can grab your seats by going to Ticketmaster.com. That's Ticketmaster.com. Tennessee, Illinois. It's big time.
Nashville Sounds Baseball is back in Hit City for the 2025 season. Create a summer of memories at the ballpark with weekly giveaways, fireworks shows, and more. Tickets are on sale now.
I trained my entire life to be the best. I was one of the fastest women in the entire country. But woke politics made me swim against a man, sharing the pool and the locker room. That's not just dangerous, it's degrading. Thank God for Marsha Blackburn. No one fights harder to protect us. Marsha Blackburn will always stand for strong women, because she's one of us.
I'm Marsha Blackburn, and I approve this message.
We are back. For those of you maybe just joining us, ESPN put out a poll basically of the 32 teams that they think have the best shot of making the college football playoff at the end of the season. These are all teams that they say have a 10% or better possibility. We're now going to take a look at teams 17 through 32, and I'm going to read them off for those of you who are not able to watch by way of podcast. Number 17 is Kansas State, followed by Auburn, UNLV, which just blows my mind because UNLV used to be the complete dregs of society in college football. Then SMU, Southern Cal. God, think about that. UNLV ahead of Southern Cal. Good Lord. South Carolina, Oklahoma, Arizona State, Florida, Kansas, BYU, which has real questions at quarterback, Virginia Tech, Baylor, Nebraska, TCU, Texas Tech. Okay. First to Kelly. Do any of those 17 through 32, in your opinion, make the playoff?
Ooh. Nah, I don't think so. I do think that USC is going to be better this year. Yeah, but they're in the Big Ten, so no, I do not. I do not, George.
Okay. Billy, what about you?
I think if Lagway stays healthy, Florida's got a shot. And I think Oklahoma has an outside chance as well with what they brought in. John Mateer is a really good player. Can he do everything he did in the SEC that he did last year with Washington State? It'll be interesting to see. They'll be better. You know, Phil Steele said last week, Kelly, if you remember in his interview, he likes USC as a dark horse. Jaden Mayaba is a guy to keep in mind. He actually played against Vanderbilt at UNLV when UNLV beat Vanderbilt. I think he came in as the backup and just lit up Vandy. And ever since then, I was like, this kid's going to be really good. Lincoln Riley lands him at USC. So I would throw USC in there as well. But I think those are still outside chances.
George, I'm going to say this too, because Billy just brought it up and Phil Steele talked about it. But I think that, and Billy said it, but I think Oklahoma's probably going to be a sleeper this year because look what happened when Vanderbilt brought their quarterback and the offensive coordinator from another and brought him into their situation. Same thing's happening there. So I think Oklahoma has a shot because Oklahoma defensively was pretty good last year, but they just didn't have it offensively. Jackson Arnold, they didn't have playmakers on that side of the ball. I think they got it this year, and I think people are not talking about them, and I think they're going to be better than what people think.
Well, it's the timing would be right because Brent Venables, to me, cannot afford any more 6 and 6s.
No.
7 and 5.
That's
I mean, that's not what Boomer Sooner is all about. And Boomer Sooner was at best middle of the road of the SEC at best. And that's not what they're paying him all that money for.
We see Auburn. You mentioned Arnold. Jackson Arnold did not do much of anything with Oklahoma last year. He's now at Auburn. All goes well. I don't think Auburn makes the playoff. I think they could be much better, though. They've got some freak shows at receiver. They brought in a couple offensive linemen to bolster that side of the football. And you know, we know Hugh Freeze and what he can do offensively. I think this is a big boomer bust type year for Auburn. I could see them on the doorstep of a playoff, but I could also see them just totally blow up. I mean, they got to play Baylor in that week 1 game in Waco. That's not a fun start to your season, especially for Jackson Arnold. But I do think they have an outside chance if all goes well.
It is
Here's
if you
what I'm
win.
starting to wonder. Hey, George, here's what I'm starting to wonder, too, about Auburn and Hugh Freeze. It seems like a same type situation that happened at Texas A&M with Jimbo Fisher. Like, are the kids responding to him anymore? You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't feel like watching the games and watching on TV, it doesn't feel like the guys have totally bought into him. That's just my feeling. And we talked about it last year and the year before. He's supposed to be this quarterback guru guy, and he did his stuff at Ole Miss and kind of made, you know, got some notoriety at Ole Miss. But, like, ever since he's been at Auburn, he went to Liberty, and he had Malik Willis at Liberty. But, like, he just has not been able to, for some reason, get a hold of the players there and make them buy in. And that's just what it seems like for me looking from afar. It doesn't seem like that he's reaching these young kids anymore. And it seems like they might be thinking, hey, he's a little too phony for me. So I don't know. It's going to be a big year for him because just as you said about Brent Venables, same thing's happening with Hugh Freeze. If he don't pick it up, he's going to be gone.
Yeah, because they're, you know, they've brought him in exactly like what you said, believing that he will fix their offense, quarterback whisperer type, and it hadn't come anywhere close to that. And if this year looks anything like last year, they're going to be howling at the end of the season. The team I really like in this, and I'm basing it on something that may not be fair, but a year ago, Alabama couldn't get Diego Pavia under control. Texas really couldn't get Diego Pavia under control, but South Carolina absolutely throttled him because their front four beat the crap out of Vandy's offensive line. I like South Carolina. I want to see where this is going with them.
And we talk about quarterbacks, and they have the Sellers kid coming back, and he played really well last year. He kind of fits what they do on offense, and he's kind of a stud. Like, he can run. I definitely didn't have that ability when I was playing, but he can throw the ball, and he can extend plays, which nowadays, big-time college football, that's what all these coaches want. They want these big guys that can extend plays, and that's what he can do. And hey, seems like they're trending in the right direction, and I think they're kind of a sleeper as well. If you look at what they did last year, beating Clemson at the end of the year, and then they were talking about maybe, you know, if it would have been a 16-team playoff, they would have been in it along with Alabama last year. That was the whole deal. So they were trending in the right direction last year, and if they keep doing what they did last year, and it parlays over into this year, they're going to be something to mess with in the SEC. That's for sure.
The one game that cost them was that Alabama game, and they played Alabama. They got unlucky. They had to play Alabama the week after they lost to Vandy, and you knew that Alabama wasn't going to lose that game. So that was a tough spot for them. But to end the season last year, they beat A&M, they beat Vandy, and they beat Missouri. All three of those teams were ranked, and then they beat Clemson. If you remember that last-minute scrambled touchdown from Lenora Sellers, they were a playoff team at the end of the season last year. A lot of people said they deserved to be in. over in Indiana, and Lord knows we talked a lot about that. But if that defense can play to the level they played last year and Lenore Sellers continues to improve, I'm with you, George. I absolutely think this South Carolina team can be in the playoff.
Guys, one of the most interesting things, and it'll go away if and when the SEC goes to 9 conference games. If you look at that list, if you're watching this thing on the podcast, and Billy has it all laid out there, I don't think I've seen this at any point in my lifetime. In the first real week of college football, Labor Day weekend, there are 5 games involving teams in that top 32. Texas at Ohio State, LSU at Clemson, Notre Dame at Miami, Auburn at Baylor, South Carolina, Virginia Tech neutral site in Atlanta. It's been a long time since, college football in week 1 has over the years been a lot of poor old tired UL Monroes. This is pretty interesting.
Yeah, and I can remember probably, was it 10 years ago? I can't remember but Nick Saban was at Alabama, and when they played Florida State to begin the season in Atlanta, and everybody was like, man, that's a big game to start with. And you got to win that game. And now you talk about I just see don't y'all see that where this stuff is trending? Because we talk about it all the time with this super conference coming on, but seems like that's what everybody wants to watch. That's what everybody wants to be. And they want all this NFL type games coming on, and there's some big games going on. And it could have some stuff to do with the end of the season with what's happening with the playoffs. So there's some pretty legit games the first week.
What do y'all think the lines are for these games? Alabama, Florida State.
I would guess Alabama
9.5.
10. Yeah.
Yeah.
12.5 according to BetMGM.
Okay, keep going.
Okay.
LSU, Clemson.
Clemson 3.5 or 4.
3.5.
Yep.
3.5.
Yep, it's 3.5. And then Texas, Ohio State.
7, 6.5. 6.5.
Who?
Ohio State.
It's not that big.
Ohio State 3.
Ohio State 2.5.
Wow, okay. 2.5.
Yep. And
Okay,
then Notre
all right.
Dame, Miami.
Notre Dame's going to be favored. I'm going to say Notre Dame 2.5.
Yep.
Yeah, there you go. That was a good one, George.
I mean, those you got a couple 2.5s in there. Alabama, that's a lot. 12.5 for Alabama, Florida State, and then of course, we know about LSU, Clemson. This is as good of a week 1 as we've ever had.
So let me ask both of y'all this: down at the bottom, in the number 31 hole is TCU. TCU opens the season at North Carolina, Bill Belichick's debut, Monday night of Labor Day. Which of those teams ends up getting closer, TCU or Carolina?
Carolina. I don't even know. I mean, who TCU? I know more about South Carolina. I trust South Carolina more.
I didn't ask about South Carolina. TCU or North Carolina?
Oh, you said North Carolina. My bad.
Yeah. Bill Belichick.
Yeah, I'll go Carolina. I'll go Carolina just because of the Bill Belichick effect. I don't know how good they're going to be. Have y'all heard anything about how good or nothing's coming out of Chapel Hill much? You don't hear much. All you hear is the controversy with he and his girlfriend. But like when it comes to football, you hadn't really heard much from Chapel Hill and what's coming out of North Carolina. So I think it'll be the Bill Belichick effect. I think they'll beat TCU. I do.
They're on to Cincinnati.
We're on to Wake Forest.
Absolutely. Okay, after the break, we'll have stat of the day, And then Terry McCormick, Main Street Media, TitanInsider.com, will join us. Apparently, Brian Callahan went off after practice yesterday. Terry was there. He'll tell us what he saw next on 94.9 The Fan.
It's back to school season, and Cromwell Media has teamed up with Souls for Souls to help a child in Middle Tennessee step into the new year with confidence by introducing Souls for 615. For just $20, you can provide a brand new pair of athletic shoes to a student in need. It's quick, it's easy, and it makes a big difference. Visit thegamenashville.com/shoes to donate now and be a part of something meaningful. Souls for 615 is presented by Macero and 12 South. Go check them out for handcrafted cocktails, bold plates, great happy hour, and elevated hospitality. Your sports live here on the Game Nashville Sports Network.
It's back to school time, and Electronic Express has you covered with the best deals on computers, printers, TVs, and dorm essentials. Everything to start the year off right, whether they're headed to middle school or off to college. Our team's ready to help you find the right gear. And with 24 months interest-free financing and free delivery, it's easy to check everything off your list. Shop in-store or electronicexpress.com today. We've got that.
This summer, the Legends of the West invite you to the Buffaloville Center of the West in Cody, Wyoming. 5 museums come alive with timeless Western art, heroic tales, and native cultures. Experience live birds of prey, crackling chuck wagon dinners, and behind-the-scenes adventures. Just 50 miles from Yellowstone's East Gate, our doors open wide to explorers young and old. One ticket grants you 2 days, enough time to let curiosity lead the way. Visit centerofthewest.org.
If you've got a yard, you may plan on digging it, like to build an addition, put in a pool, or bury your pirate booty. But you should know that throughout the country, there may be pipelines buried underground. And if you hit one, you've got trouble. Sorry. So before you dig, call 811 to have any buried pipelines located and marked at no charge. For more tips on pipeline safety, visit pipesafety.org. A message from the Tennessee Gas Association, Tennessee Association of Broadcasters, and this station.
Evan, Canty, and Michelle are unsportsmanlike.
The organization can present Joe Flacco or Kenny Pickett or Dylan Gabriel as a better option to the rest of the world. But you know who they can't lie to? The guys in the locker room that see all those quarterbacks every single day. And if Shedeur Sanders proves to be the best option, Shedeur Sanders will be the week 1 quarterback. And from a talent standpoint, Shedeur Sanders has more talent in that quarterback room than anybody that's in there right now.
Unsportsmanlike. Weekday mornings starting at 6 Eastern on ESPN Radio and on ESPN2. This is Freddie and Harry on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app.
You give me like a dry rub and a chicken wing, I'm good. You give me barbecue sauce and a chicken wing, I'm good. Ranch and blue cheese, nah, you can put that over there.
I didn't take it for you to like it dry, not your chicken wings.
It depends on who's making them, though. Now, my mother's making them. That's all you need.
Okay.
That's all. Maddie Coleman or Denise Coleman, my wife, are making them. That's all you need. You don't need extras.
Check out more from Freddie and Harry weekdays at 3 Eastern on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app.
Your sports live here. WBUZ HD3 Laverne. All around the world on the Game Nashville app. We are the Game Nashville Sports Network. ESPN 94.9 The Fan.
It's the George Plaster Show. Your sports live here on 94.9 The Fan.
Coming up, we're talking Titans with Terry McCormick, but first things first, time for Stat of the Day. It is brought to you by Apple Collision Centers, and I am pulling up the Stat of the Day as we speak. Again, Apple Collision Centers, you can find them in Old Hickory, Hendersonville, and Gallatin. Give them a call, 615-754-9800, or log on to their website. That's applecollisioncenters.com. All right, we're going baseball today. At 41 years old, Charlie Morton had 5 straight strikeouts last night. Can you name the oldest pitcher with 5 straight strikeouts? And it's a big name.
So, Kelly, the obvious would be Nolan Ryan, who even at 46 years old threw a no-hitter for the Rangers in Oakland. I don't think it's anybody else. You know, if I was gonna throw a real long shot in there, it might be Satchel Paige, but Nolan Ryan I think he's the one.
Well, that's the only thought that came to my mind when he said it. I couldn't think of anybody else, and that's not hard. But Nolan Ryan was my thought too.
Billy, show us Nolan Ryan.
It is Randy Johnson.
Oh my God!
Gosh, the big unit, huh?
The big unit.
Mm.
Didn't even think about that.
Mm. Well, we're 0 for 1 for the week. That's very bitter.
Way to go, Billy! I blame that on you.
That we got to give Ty some credit.
It's a good question.
Terry said Randy Johnson was his other guess.
Well,
yeah,
we'll find out.
Other guesses.
Yeah, we'll find out from Terry here in just a second. So we are now officially into the 4 o'clock hour. Some of you know this and some of you don't. We announced last Monday a big promotion with Sports and Social in Green Hills. And it will be when the NFL season starts, we'll broadcast from Sports and Social in the Green Hills Mall every Thursday night. However, we have a special edition of all this coming up this coming Saturday night around the Titans preseason game in Tampa. Billy, do you have the commercial ready?
I do.
Well, that's exciting. Let's hear it. It's a big football promotion on Thursday night starting in September at Sports and Social in the Green Hills Mall. However, just to confuse you, we will have a special edition of that show on Saturday, August the 9th with a Chalk Talk at 5:30 p.m. and then the Titans versus Tampa Bay on all those big screens at 6:30. If you haven't been to Sports and Social, you're in for a treat. Great food and the very best TV setup you have ever seen. So mark your calendars, be a part of it. We'd look forward to seeing you a week from Saturday.
There you go.
Yeah, except it's this Saturday. So with that in mind, if any of you out there are listening to this and would like to attend on Saturday, let me know it, and I'll reserve you a table. plastergeorge@gmail.com. Again, plastergeorge@gmail.com. Now, let's say hello to Terry McCormick, who I'm guessing thought it was Nolan Ryan, correct?
That was my first guess, and then I thought, well, how long did Randy Johnson pitch? Because I know he hung around for a long time, including a few years with the Yankees at the end of his career.
He pitched till he was 45. I didn't realize that.
I didn't know it was that long either.
Yeah. So, okay, tell us what led to Brian Callahan going off yesterday.
Well, it was just kind of a bad day all around for the offense. They couldn't get in sync, couldn't get in rhythm. There were penalties. There were drop passes. There were misfires, throws off the mark. And then finally at the end, on the last rep of a team drill, Cam Ward drops back, throws the ball toward the left sideline, goes way out over the head of Van Jefferson, uncatchable, and then he just unloaded. There was no audio recordings of it because the reporters are not allowed to say and record what goes on, in conversation during practice. The only words, George, that you can put on your show were the first word, which was dog, and the last word, which was practice.
Dog practice.
Wonder what that was.
You know what? If we did stat of the day on it, I think I would get it.
Well, there are multiple words involved.
Oh yeah, multisyllabic.
Some of them, yeah. Some of them are
Yeah.
one-syllable words. Some of them are
Or
two-syllable words.
So, Kelly, at this point, around a week before they play a real preseason game, should that be a big surprise that they had a practice like that?
No. You're going to have practices like that, but they've had a couple in a row. They don't want to keep stringing them in a row. And normally the defense is way ahead of the offense. I can remember being in college and Coach Donnelly would get on us all the time, but the defense doesn't have as much as the offense to consume in meetings and stuff. They just, and I used to tell people this all the time, and this makes defensive people get mad. But on defense, hey, it's see ball, get ball. Offensive football doesn't work that way. And defensive people that are listening to this or coordinators that are listening to this, that's not all it is. But really, when it boils down to it, on defense, 10 guys can be doing the wrong thing, but one guy can make a play, and it makes everybody look good. On offense, it doesn't work that way. So normally this time of year, the offense is way behind the defense, but you got to start stacking good practices up in a row. And just from getting the word from Terry and from what you're seeing on the chat board and all that stuff, they hadn't had a really good offensive practice all together and one the whole time of camp. So they got to start stacking practices on top of each other to try to get some confidence going into their first preseason game.
Yeah, and to add to that, they had an okay practice on Friday, and then Cam Ward had a decent-looking day on Saturday, but then everything just kind of cratered and went back to being bad on Sunday. And, George, I'll give you an explanation for this, and, this is something that I broached before, but it's also something, to consider, especially when you're breaking in a young quarterback like they're doing this year with Cam Ward, like they tried to do last year with Will Levis. Brian Callahan came from the Cincinnati Bengals, and he brought that offensive system and that offensive philosophy here with him. But really, in the early stages, he's kind of running the Walmart brand version of the offense because there is no Joe Burrow, there is no Jamar Chase, there is no T. Higgins. So you're running the same type of stuff, and no disrespect to Cam Ward or Will Levis last year, but they could play for 15 years in the league and have solid careers and do really good things and not approach the talent level and not approach the ability that Joe Burrow has. And the same thing with the Titans receivers. They're not going to touch what Jamar Chase can do for a team. So when you try to do all those things and then you're doing it, you're now in year 2, so you're a little further along, and you think now that in Cam Ward you have a trigger man who is a little more like what you want to tailor this offense to, rather than Will Levis, who was a play-action vertical quarterback who was kind of miscast last year in this system. So you think that part is on the way to being solved, but you still got to find receivers who are pass catchers first instead of blocking for Derrick Henry like they did for all those years. You still got to have offensive linemen who are pass protect guys first rather than run blockers. So there's a lot of parts that have to be replaced and upgraded for this thing to look like something. And I think that's a big part of what they're going through right now. There's parts that fit, parts that don't quite fit, and things that they maybe can't do that Brian Callahan would like to do, but it's just not physically possible now. Okay,
let's try this first of all. So when the big crowd shows up Saturday night at Sports and Social, most of the reason will be because of Cam Ward. They're curious about Cam Ward. Sadly, they feel like they know what a lot of this roster is, but Cam Ward's an intriguing deal. How long does he play Saturday?
It's not been brought up. I think he has to play at least 3 or 4 series to kind of get his feet wet, to kind of get that baptism by fire, so to speak. Now, you don't want to put him in harm's way, but you also have the luxury of knowing that you've got, a lot of different changes you've made on the offensive line. So allowing those guys to play together in the preseason is also something that needs to be done. So if I'm Brian Callahan, I'm giving Cam Ward in the first team offense about 3 to 4 series to kind of get acclimated, to get comfortable. And even if Todd Bowles takes his first team out after one series, I'm leaving my first team in, if nothing else, to maybe build a little confidence.
But isn't there normally, and Kelly, you pipe in here too, isn't there kind of a gentleman's agreement of how they play the game in preseason that Callahan may say to Bowles, look, keep your one guy, your first unit in there defensively. I need to get some work for this Cam Ward kid. Isn't that the way that works?
There's some of that, but a lot of that will be taken care of in the joint practice that they're doing on Thursday. That's where you can kind of set things up and say, okay, Brian Callahan will tell Todd Bowles, look, I need to practice 3rd and long, or I need to practice red zone with my offense. And Todd Bowles will tell Brian Callahan, okay, that's good. We need to practice, being backed up, or we need to practice our run game, things like that. So there will be some back and forth and some prior agreements during that joint practice where you can get some of that work in. As far as the game itself, there may be some of that, but I think they want it to be more live bullets, so to speak, so that they see how some of these guys adjust on the fly.
You for sure, in joint practices, you for sure get more out of the practices than the preseason games. I was watching something the other day where they were talking about the New England Patriots one time, and Bill Belichick got pissed off before halftime, and he put the starters in at the 3rd quarter and said, y'all haven't done anything, go out and do something, and then you can come off the field. So, yeah, there is a gentleman's deal, a gentleman's handshake, but Todd Bowles, which I was with Todd Bowles in Cleveland, great guy, love him to death. He understands the situation that the Tennessee Titans are in, so he knows, and he's probably going to prepare his guys, even though they've got practices together. He's going to tell them in the preseason or, in the game, hey, they're probably going to keep their first team in a little bit longer than we do. So he'll have guys prepared for that, and he'll understand that.
So, Terry, this is kind of where people want your opinion. You're out there every day. You see Cam Ward. Now you've had a lot of looks at him. What do you think he is, good and bad?
Good, I think he does have a good quick release. He seems to be accurate on the short throws and the intermediate throws a lot of times. I think he still is trying to feel his way around to see what works and what doesn't. We talked last week about the tip passes and the sidearm throws. Didn't see as much of that stuff Saturday and Sunday after it kind of got knocked away earlier in the week. Honestly, I'm just going to come right out and say this. I think he's got a long way to go. I think he's got talent. I think he's a guy that could be a good quarterback, but I don't know that right now that they have very much around him to elevate him for him to take this team above, winning a handful of games this year. The red flags to me, he's kind of been holding on to the ball a little bit at times. He's throwing into traffic and things like that. And he's been off the mark a little bit when he's been under pressure. That's not unusual for a rookie quarterback. If you wanted my honest assessment of him in terms of where he is so far, I think he's a little bit behind where they were last year in terms of how it looked on the practice field. I did not get any real red flags last year. There were good days and bad, don't get me wrong. I did not get any real red flags about Will Levis and the offense until the Seattle Seahawks came in and ate their lunch. And they looked really bad going against a defense that they were unfamiliar with. I think the defense has had the upper hand for most of this camp. Some of that's to be expected. But I think, the catching up process has to start soon. And I'm interested to see what he's going to look like in these joint practices against Tampa and Atlanta. Some guys look really good on the practice field and it doesn't translate to the game. Other guys can be just the opposite. They may not practice well, but they're picking things up and they're learning from the mistakes. And then when it comes time for it to be for real and they play in the game, sometimes they look dynamite. Cam Ward seems to have a reputation of being a guy who's a gamer, who wants to, who's going to do whatever it takes to win. Let's hope that's the case if you're a Titans fan, and let's see what he looks like in these joint practices in this first preseason game.
Okay, let me ask this, because clearly one of the things that hurt Will Levis, besides himself, was lack of any help in the offensive line. Now they've made, a considerable number of changes over the last year and a half. In your opinion, where are they from an offensive line standpoint?
I think they're starting to find some building blocks. Peter Skoronski looks like he's had a really good camp. He looks like he's taken a step forward at that left guard position. Kevin Zeitler should be an upgrade at right guard. J.C. Latham started off well. He's been down a couple of days at the right tackle position, but I think he'll be all right. And then Dan Moore has been kind of quiet. I think he's, an average NFL left tackle. And, average really right now would be a major upgrade over what they put out there the last couple of years.
So you think that, well, first of all, Cam Ward certainly has more mobility than Will Levis had.
But he hasn't run a whole lot in these practices. It's interesting. He scrambled out of trouble in order to try to throw the ball, but he hasn't just tucked it and run a la Vince Young or Jake Locker or Marcus Mariota. He really is not that type of quarterback. He's going to stand in the pocket and try to make the throw whenever possible and run as a last resort.
Kelly, I'm going to guess that you're clapping at that's good.
Yeah, I think that's what he is, George. I've told you that. I think that he is an opportunistic runner, but I don't think he wants to do that. I think he wants to move his feet. I think he wants to throw the ball from the pocket. And sometimes in the NFL and playing quarterback in general, whether it's high school or college, you have to move your feet. And that's why they do all these drills with you, because sometimes guys aren't blocked, or sometimes you have to move. You got to keep your feet under you, and you got to move a little bit so that you can get in a throwing position. And I think that's really the kind of quarterback he is. I don't think he's a runner. I really don't. I think he can run, and I think he can be opportunistic at running, but I don't think that's what he was. I don't think that's where he made his living in college. I really don't. I think he's a thrower of the ball, and I always talk about Russell Wilson. I think Russell Wilson, he threw the ball, but if you give him an opportunity to run, he's going to take it. And I think that's what Cam Ward will do, but I think Cam Ward is a pocket passer.
Okay, let's do this. We'll go to the break, and then Kelly, you and Billy can kind of get into some questions with Terry. We'll also open up the phones in a little while for your Titan questions for Terry McCormick as well. So stay tuned. We've got more coming on 94.9 The Fan.
When I got my first car, my dad told me, keep the gas tank full and my number on speed dial. Now parents are telling their kids, save 615-242-9000 just in case. I'm Blair Durham. If you or someone you love is in a wreck, call us. We're here to get you the money you deserve.
Attention, Big Orange Country. Tennessee and Illinois will square off Saturday, December the 6th at Bridgestone Arena. This is the rematch of a great college basketball game last season in Champaign that went right to the wire. And this one figures to be more of the same. Tickets are on sale now. You can grab your seats by going to Ticketmaster.com. That's Ticketmaster.com. Tennessee, Illinois. It's big time. It's easy to say good things about the folks at Strike and Spare Family Fun Centers. Number one, I trust them with something that's near and dear to me, the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night. But more importantly, I see the fun people have. They enjoy the bowling, they enjoy the camaraderie, and you will too. Come by any of their locations and get ready to have some fun.
Are you ready to begin? Trevecca Nazarene University. From calling to becoming.
Venture Express has been helping people in this area for more than 40 years. They're headquartered in Murfreesboro with over 30 years of dedicated fleets involving production, manufacturing, and corrugated experiences. They're an asset-based company with over 700 tractors, 4,000 trailers, and 800 drivers. If you need their help, dial them up 615-793-9500 or log on to ventureexpress.com.
I'll go back in the air.
Okay, we are back on this Monday afternoon. We're talking some Titans football. They will play in Tampa Saturday night at 6:30. We will begin our big sports and social promotion with a special Saturday edition. This Saturday, we'll have a chalk talk at 5:30 p.m. The game will come on at 6:30. We'll have a lot of trivia questions and Papa Shot games and all that kind of stuff. And if you'd love to be a part of it, and by the way, they have really good food and the best TV setup you'll ever see. If you want me to reserve a table for you, just simply email me, plastergeorge@gmail.com, and we will do just that. Okay, Terry McCormick alongside. Kelly, you and Billy, take it from here.
Terry, I was thinking when you were talking about all that stuff, I just want to, this intrigues me because with the way social media is and with the way media coverage is now and with Hard Knocks and with everything, everybody thinks we can critique. So I want to know what your critiques of Steve McNair was back in the day. Just take us on a little nostalgic run because you just talked about what you thought about Cam Ward. What did you think about Steve McNair or some of the other guys that have been drafted high up in the organization? What were your thoughts on them the first time you saw them or the first couple of practices you saw?
All right. I'll run through all of them if you want, all that, are, worthy of being mentioned as starting quarterbacks. Steve McNair, I thought, was a guy that really, you could tell the skill set was there, but he was very raw coming from Alcorn State. Even his first couple of years as a starter, wasn't a polished passer, but the offensive coordinator, first Les Steckel and then later Mike Heimerdinger, brought him along. And by 2002, which coincided with the time that Eddie George's career and his productivity started to wind down, that's when Mike Heimerdinger went into the office of Jeff Fisher and said, it's time to hand Steve McNair the keys to this offense. Fisher agreed, and then that team went on a major run and went all the way to the AFC Championship. And I think you saw the more responsibility that they gave Steve McNair, the more they put on his plate. Now, granted, remember, he sat for 2 years, and he was probably 6 years in by the time this happened. But the more they put on his plate, the more he seemed to thrive. And I think that right there showed you what type of quarterback he was. It was a long process to get him ready to be a starting quarterback in the NFL. It took 2 years of sitting, 2 more years of kind of learning in a run-heavy offense. But you saw the gradual strides. And it came, it did not come, George will tell you this, it did not come without growing pains, because there were plenty Sundays where he was, 10 of 21 for 98 yards and a touchdown. And people were going, is this the guy that we want to lead this team? But, they kept the faith, they stayed with him, and he really, they were much more patient because I think they knew what he could be, and they gave him opportunities that a lot of times guys nowadays don't get because they're on those rookie contracts. And if you're not with it by year 2 or 3, they're ready to kick you to the curb.
See, and that's kind of where I'm getting at. Like, if Steve McNair is in today's climate of professional football, like, are they going to give him the opportunity? I'm going with this in another way, because I think I said this to you last week, or I told the audience the other week. I'm worried to death about the organization because it takes time to implement a system. And we're in this instant gratification, instant coffee society now that everybody wants everything done now. They can't wait. And Steve McNair, you just said, took 6 years. And it takes guys a long time sometimes to get up with the speed of the game, to understand how to play the game. And that's what I'm worried about with this coaching staff. Like, they're trying to implement something into this Tennessee Titans organization that has never been there. They've been a running team. They've been a running organization with the Eddie Georges and the Derrick Henrys and the Chris Johnsons of the world. And it just seems to me like it's so hyperinflated that everybody wants something now that
No, Kelly, I think you're exactly right. You broke up there at the end. I think you're exactly right in terms of what they're trying to do. And they've got to give Brian Callahan time to do that. And it may look ugly at times this year, just like it did last year. But if you want Cam Ward to succeed, the best route is for Brian Callahan to have a chance to succeed. Because the biggest thing that the Titans have done, in my opinion, in failing quarterbacks over the years has been they've changed the offensive coordinator or they've changed the head coach. And here's how it goes. I'll give you the Levis, for instance, because that's the most recent one. They draft Will Levis. He's a play action vertical quarterback. They sit him, he sits behind Ryan Tannehill with the notion that at some point he's going to be the starter. Tannehill gets hurt. They put him in. He does okay. Not great, not awful, does okay. Well, Vrabel gets sideways with the organization. Amy loses patience with him, fires him. And so they bring in a new coach in Brian Callahan, and the edict that was handed down to him was, we want you to develop Will Levis. Well, they try to implement the system that he brought to Cincinnati, and I touched on this earlier about how you're running the Walmart version of it because you don't have Joe Burrow, you don't have Jamar Chase, you don't have T. Higgins. So you're running it with lesser pieces and lesser parts and some that don't even fit because you've had receivers like Nick Westbrook-Akine and Traylon Burks who've been told, if you don't block for Derrick Henry, you don't get on the field. Well, now you're saying win your route within 2.5 seconds so that Will can get you the football. And you're telling an offensive line that's been used to power running and forging ahead with Derrick Henry, hoping he's going to break a big one. Now you're saying drop back 30 times, pass protect, give Will time to throw. And then you're also asking Will to, make a quick decision, make it against, extra men outside the box, not a stacked box with Derrick Henry. All that, all that conspired against everything they did last year. So now all of a sudden they're the worst team in the league. Levis is relegated to the bench. Brian Callahan is going, I need my guy. Okay, Cam Ward is his guy. So now you've got to give Brian Callahan the chance to develop Cam Ward, because if you fire Brian Callahan, then the next thing you're going to bring in a coach and you're going to say, your job is to develop Cam Ward. Well, what happens if Cam Ward doesn't fit what this guy wants to do? You're right back on the same cycle. In 2 years, he's going to say, I can't develop Cam Ward. I got to have my guy. If you want Cam Ward to succeed, you need Brian Callahan to succeed, and you need some continuity and some stability.
Yeah, and I'm totally with that. I think you're absolutely right, and that's the way I see things. People just will not let things develop. So my last question is, Cam Ward, you've talked about him, and he's had some really tough practices. We all have tough practices. I can remember coaches talking to us as quarterbacks, came in the quarterback room and says, hey, this is practice, but I want to see y'all push the ball in there. I want to see y'all fit some things, see if you can do things that you don't think you can do. And then when it goes bad, then they hold that against you. But are we so hypersensitive in our society? And do you think the Tennessee Titan fans and the media are so wanting somebody to do good and step behind Steve McNair, because he's really the last main quarterback that the Tennessee Titans had that was successful? Do you think they're just longing for something like that? That's why they're so critical on the young guys that they bring in, and they've been so critical on Cam Ward so far?
Kelly, 1,000%. 1,000%. Because Vince Young was supposed to be the successor. Then when he flamed out and didn't develop, then it was Jake Locker. They did the same thing to him. They changed the offensive system, went from Mike Munchak to Ken Wisenhunt, tried to go with a passing style system. Wisenhunt didn't think Locker was a fit, benched him for Zach Mettenberger. And then also he had the injury issues. Marcus Mariota, same thing, changed the offensive coordinator, changed the head coach on him. Mike Mularkey, I thought, got really the most out of Marcus Mariota for where he was in his development. And then when they changed it to Mike Vrabel and they acquired Ryan Tannehill, you kind of knew Marcus Mariota was on borrowed time. But yes, 1,000%. Titans fans have got to not be so darn toxic when it comes to a quarterback. Quarterbacks are going to make mistakes, especially young quarterbacks who don't have a lot of pieces around them. When you go 3-14, you don't have a lot of pieces to work with. It's going to take some time. It's going to take some patience. And it's going to take some mistakes being made before Cam Ward figures it out, before Brian Callahan figures it out. Now, at a certain point, if there's not a return on investment, if we're still having this conversation by the middle of next year, then yeah, maybe you got to rethink things, but you got to give it some time.
Terry, obviously we don't know how much Cam is going to play on Saturday night, but what are you expecting from him? And what do you and what should Titans fans want to see from him Saturday night and in the little time that we may see him?
I think what you want to see is clean execution. You want to see the offense run without these penalties, and the problems that they had last year, the false starts, the holdings that take away big gains, the misfires, the misreads and things like that. You want to see it complete and clean. If they can give you some semblance of a run game, if Cam can complete, if he goes 6 of 10 for 50 yards and has no turnovers, I think you take that and be very happy for a first outing. You just want to see clean execution, and you want to see that he is understanding what he's supposed to do, and that the people around him are doing their jobs, that the line is protecting him, he's not running for his life, that the run game is giving him enough so that he's not in 3rd and 9 all the time. I think that's what you want to see.
All right, last thing from me. What can we expect from this defense? You talk about all the time, a lot of these last few calls, how much better the defense has been than the offense. Could this defense be better than they were last year?
Maybe, but it's certainly, color me skeptical. I just am, because of what I saw last year with this defense. There's not really anybody outside of Jeffrey Simmons that you go, that's a star player, that's a difference maker on the defense. A lot of solid guys. Like you've got the video, the slide there of Amani Hooker, very solid player. There's some other guys like Cody Barton, Devondre Sweat, Sebastian Joseph Day, that are good, solid players, but there are not a lot of stars on this defense. And to me, they're going to get a big, big test for as long as Baker Mayfield and the first team offense is on the field for the Bucs, both in the joint practice and in the preseason game, because that's one of the most prolific offenses in the NFL, probably one of the 10 best offenses in the league, I would say. When you've got a quarterback like Mayfield who can make any throw, and you've got receivers like Mike Evans and Chris Godwin and on down the line that really can move the ball and put up points in a hurry. If they can get pressure on Baker, or if they can force some turnovers and get some pass deflections and things like that, then maybe I'll start to believe that this defense is for real. But going against a Titans offense that's still learning, that's still feeling its way, I'm a little skeptical.
So are you this is what it sounds like. So tell me if I'm reading it wrong. Are they bottom third of the league defensively?
Yeah, probably bottom half. I don't know about bottom third, but probably bottom half. Really, the pass protection is everything. If they can find a way to generate a pass rush, then they could be better. But, we're seeing what this defense is doing, and I go back to a few years ago. Everybody, we were all, myself included, raving about what a great training camp Justin Hunter was having. He was just running, just ripping the Titans secondary to shreds. And we thought, whoa, they found their receiver. They found a guy who's really going to be good. And it turns out that the defense was one of the worst in the league that year, especially in the secondary. They just didn't have more than one or two guys that were any good. And Justin Hunter was taking advantage of that, and he turned out to be just a very average type of player. And, you hope that that's not what's going on with this Titans defense, but, that's certainly not out of the possibility.
Okay, last thing. Joey Slive, a guarantee to make the roster? Are they totally sold on him?
Yeah, because there's no extra kicker in camp, no extra kicker or punter. So it's Johnny Hecker and it's Joey Sly. Now he's got a big leg. He made a 66-yarder out there at the stadium on that day that they had the open practice. But he's had a couple of rough days too, where his range in that 45 to 55 area is not maybe as accurate all the time as you would want.
Okay, but when you say that, truthfully, there are 10 guys that will get released that are probably just as good as him. Yes?
Yes, but he'll get the first crack at it. Now, he comes out Denver and goes 1 for 4, then all bets are off. But he's going to get the first crack at it, George.
Okay. Terry, appreciate it as always. Great stuff. Behave until tomorrow.
I will try.
Good luck to your Yankees. Nice
We're
effort
awful.
in Florida.
We are just awful. Swept by the Marlins for the first time ever in our history.
Of course. What have I got to say?
That's true.
At least
the Gwinnett Braves are not exactly tearing it up right now.
My team, unwatchable. Period. Thanks. Talk to you.
See ya.
Okay, here's what we're going to do after the break. We will open up the phones and try to take 3 or 4 calls before the end of the hour at 615-553-0933. Again, 615-553-0933. How else can they reach us, Billy?
Chat room on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook. It's wide open right now. We've had a few so far, but keep them coming, and we'll try to get Kelly back in here, and we'll take some of your calls and your chats.
Okay, hit the phones. We're back after this on 94.9 The Fan.
When I got my first car, my dad told me, keep the gas tank full and my number on speed dial. Now parents are telling their kids, save 615-242-9000 just in case. I'm Blair Durham. If you or someone you love is in a wreck, call us. We're here to get you the money you deserve.
This is my buddy Stan Harrison from Apple Collision Centers. Recently, you've been talking to me about companies that have a fleet of trucks and they're always in need of repairs.
That's right, George. We understand that nobody likes to deal with the auto body repair process. We try to simplify that at our 3 convenient locations. We work with all major insurance companies. We help to ease the stress of the auto body repair process. We're located in Old Hickory, Hendersonville, and Gallatin. If you need our services, please stop by and see us.
And how convenient that we have that in the background. Now, seriously, these are good folks. They do really good work. Give them a holler. Attention, Big Orange Country. Tennessee and Illinois will square off Saturday, December the 6th at Bridgestone Arena. This is the rematch of a great college basketball game last season in Champaign that went right to the wire. And this one figures to be more of the same. Tickets are on sale now. You can grab your seats by going to Ticketmaster.com. That's Ticketmaster.com. Tennessee, Illinois. It's big time. Venture Express has been helping people in this area for more than 40 years. They're headquartered in Murfreesboro with over 30 years of dedicated fleets involving production, manufacturing, and corrugated experiences. They're an asset-based company with over 700 tractors, 4,000 trailers, and 800 drivers. If you need their help, dial them up 615-793-9500 or log on to ventureexpress.com.
Live here on 94.9 The Fan.
I can name that song in 2 notes. That's about as iconic as it gets.
Classic.
Yeah.
Hey, I got a note. I got a note on Diego Pavia real quick.
Okay.
It has come out publicly for the first time that he said in an interview with KRQE's sports office, posted on August the 4th today, that he played most of last season with a hamstring tear he suffered during week 6 in their game against Kentucky. We knew it was an injury of some sort, but that hadn't been made public. So Pavia had a hamstring tear most of last season and played through it.
Tough kid. We knew that. Let's go, Eric, to get it started. Eric, you're on 94.9 The Fan. Welcome.
Hey, George, first of all, I want to say I hope you thoroughly enjoyed the event you went to Thursday night involving your aunt and uncle for their 65th wedding anniversary. I'm hoping that was enjoyable for you.
It was very cool. I'm glad I got to do it. They're amazing. They're 92 and 89 and both in remarkable health.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you're able to go enjoy that. George, a couple of things, and then I'll get off. First of all, I wanted to talk about the baseball game at the Bristol track this past Sunday. Of course, I wish the Reds had won, but I would have felt bad if I had been a fan trying to go to that. Go Saturday night, the game was delayed, and then you only get to see like one inning, and then they do it, of course, the next day. I'm wondering how many of those fans probably got to stay, because I'm sure a lot of people, if I tried to do something like that, I probably wouldn't have been able to stay. I would have had to leave, and I'm sure, wondering if those fans were able to get their money refunded, or did they just stay the next day? Because I'm sure not every single person was probably able to do that.
No, it wasn't anywhere close to the 91,000 on Saturday. I really don't know how many, and I haven't seen anything that says, okay, here's how many people were here on Sunday. I'm guessing half, but I don't know that.
Yeah. And George, one last thing, and then I'll get off. And I heard Terry earlier talking about the Titans, and I'm kind of with you guys. I'm just not a person to make change for the sake of making change. You've got to have some sort of stability. I'm hoping that it really doesn't go off the rails and they wind up with a record of this, and then you decide, well, we got to get rid of the coach. There comes a point when you've got to have some sort of stability and continuity. One of the things, of course, I heard this past weekend that I kind of liked about Cam Newton Ward, and I know they said he's had some good practices and bad practices, and I know you can't make too much from that, but I like the fact that I heard that he was out there like 5 a.m. with some teammates, that he's trying to take some leadership responsibilities for the team. I'm really liking that, and also the fact that I heard that there was another time where he was kind of on the defense for getting drawn off to the sides on a snap count or something like that. So I'm just pleased to hear that he's trying to take some leadership roles and some responsibilities. I'm hearing that the veterans are like that. We'll see how all this will translate in the season, but I'm just real happy when I hear stuff like that. Guys, I'll get off and let you get some other callers. Y'all take care, and we'll talk to you soon.
Hey, Eric, thank you. Here's, to me, one of the challenges. I'm trying to count this up while we're on the air, so bear with me here a minute. Their bye week is right at the start of November, and they will have played 7, 8. They will have played 9 games before their bye week. So my question is, what happens if they're 2-7 or 3-6? Because she has shown no patience whatsoever. She has become, we early on it was sweet Miss Amy. Screw that. She's become a big problem in all of this. Her lack of any patience, whatsoever, I think has set this franchise back some. And not only that, but some of the people they have fired off the field is embarrassing. And that's on her. She's the owner.
George, I'm telling you, you've got to have some consistency in an organization. You got to be willing to go through the tough times and know that there's light at the end of the tunnel. If you put the right people in positions that you know that can get the job done, don't micromanage them. Let them go do their job. And then if they can't do their job while you're letting them do their job, then hey, then something's got to change. But there's just been no continuity in that whatsoever, and it takes time in organizations to get this stuff. Like, what if Nick Saban, after he loses to Louisiana Monroe, his first year there, what if they get rid of him? Just think of all the stuff that they missed out because people were impatient. You have to be willing to fight through and go through the bad times in order to see the good times. And I don't think people in the NFL, especially the Tennessee Titans, are willing to do that as an organization right now.
And so, if you're going to pencil or circle, when is a key pressure point? They play the Chargers here on Sunday, November the 12th, and then they have a bye week. The bye week is in week 10. If they're 2-7 or 3-6, and by the way, she could help it with a little bit of common sense sometime in October to come out and say, look, we're not doing this again.
Absolutely. That's what you have to do.
I mean, have some patience. It gets to a point where you're going to be looked at as, no offense, Kelly, but the Cleveland Browns or the New York Jets. I mean, they're not far from that. They might even be there now.
You don't have to tell me. You don't have to apologize to me because the Cleveland Browns can't beat eggs right now, and you're absolutely right. There's been no consistency in that organization. You can look at all the head coaches that they've fumbled through, and that's what I tried to express to Terry and to everybody out there. When you start that, it's an ongoing problem that keeps going, and if you're willing to make a quick fixes don't happen, especially if you want to be good. You've got to be willing to endure some tough spots in order to see the bright spots. And for some reason, they just have not been willing to do that.
Yeah, it's the gift that keeps on giving. Lucky Lindy in Lebanon, Tennessee. Welcome.
George, guys, how's it going?
We're good, Lucky Lindy. How did you become lucky?
Hey. Well, that's a long story, and I don't think we can talk about that on the radio right now. But
okay,
if the Titans are 3-6 by November 12th, they're ahead of schedule. They're ahead of last year.
4 miles. Take exit 59 AB 5840 toward Memphis, Nashville.
I think I had somebody was saying something there. I don't know who it was, but
yeah, I think it's Kelly's automatic map or whatever.
Okay.
Figure it out, Kelly.
Yeah.
Okay. I thought, okay. Well, first of all, real quick, I just wanted to let you guys know how smooth sounding sports radio talk show you guys had on Thursday and Friday of last week. I mean, it was just a professional radio show from beginning to end. I enjoyed every bit of it. But my question is, has there ever been an NFL team that has picked first overall 2 years in a row? And if they have, who would that be in what year? And if the Titans end up in that position, and let's just say Arch Manning wins the Heisman Trophy and plays lights out and decides to come out for the draft, what do the Titans do? Have a great day, guys. We love it.
Oh, my God.
Well,
what a scenario.
Yeah. I do know this, that I played with those guys that got drafted one in consecutive years. It was Tim Couch and Courtney Brown.
With Cleveland.
The Browns, yeah.
Yep.
Shocker.
That's not a good place to be in.
No, it was not a good place to be in. We found out that it's definitely not a good place to be because I lived it.
Tim Couch lived it.
We all lived it. And it was not a. Sometimes it was a great experience because we thought great talk, but like you got to win games in that league, and we were not able to. We were on the cusp of it. I've talked about that story before. We were on the cusp, but the powers that be decided to do something different, and that caused everybody to get fired.
Let's go to Derek.
Well, on
the
Arch Manning thing, though, I'll say this to Lucky Lindy. A lot of people saying he's going to stay at Texas another year. So just keep that in mind. No matter what happens this year.
Enjoy your college experience. That's what I want to express to these young kids. Like, I know you can go and you can change your life and do all that, but like, I wish we could, just stay in college and just understand to appreciate that. Because young kids nowadays, they're so involved in going to get this money, going to be the number one pick. But, like, there's something good about being in college sports and being around guys, hanging with guys, and having a college experience. And nowadays, that's what I worry about the transfer portal. I'm not sure that the transfer portal is good for that because you're like a one-year mercenary, and you go somewhere and you never can get connected with coaches. You never can have friends in college. I mean, I still see some of my college teammates every year and still talk to them all the time, and that's some of the best memories of my life.
It's also easier if your family has money.
True. I mean, I understand that. I get that.
Yeah.
I know where you're coming from, George. I understand that. Some situations are different.
Yep. Okay, Derek on line 3. You are next. Welcome.
Hey, George. I'm going to circle back to college football here.
Okay.
Assuming that Joey Aguilar gets the starting QB job at UT, who do you predict has a more productive year this upcoming season, Joey Aguilar or Pavia?
It's a really good question because Joey Aguilar probably has better people around him, although I think the gap in the skill positions, Vandy has probably closed that gap, and so it's not the given that it used to be. I think it comes down to injury kind of stuff. Billy, you just reported it. We all suspected that there was some stuff going on. The bigger question is, how in the world did he play with that?
Yeah. Some other substances probably helped as well. But I think Pavia that's a good question. I mean, Aguilar has produced.
Really good question.
Aguilar has produced. Last year, he struggled through a lot of picks. A couple of years ago at App State, though, really produced. But in this offense at Vanderbilt, the big question is, can you keep Pavia healthy? Can he stay upright? The first 6 games of last year, he was upright. He was playing well, and they were winning games. But they lost down the stretch because he wasn't at his best. And there were some other players on that offense that were banged up as well. If Aguilar is the starter, which I think he is, and the schedule Tennessee has, I may say Aguilar just out of because we haven't seen if Pavia can stay healthy though. Who knows? But that is a really good question. I might have to go Aguilar.
A lot of that has to do with the support. A lot of that has to do with the supporting cast, though, too, guys. And I believe the continuity is my favorite word of the day. But you got to build some continuity on both offenses, and Pavia's been there, Aguilar hasn't. And are they going to? Is Vanderbilt going to take a step up? And then what can Aguilar do with this offense and learning this offense on such a quick notice? I mean, that's tough, guys. I've talked about that before. How tough it is just to learn an offense in a couple of months. You don't know all the ins and outs and the details and the intricacies of the offense when you're just into that. So I'm going to say Pavia probably has a better year, but I don't know. I think it's the supporting cast has a lot to do with it.
It's a really good question.
Yeah.
Okay.
A better year, means you've got, like if Aguilar stays healthy the whole year, he may end up having better stats than Pavia, but I don't think any quarterback in the league is as important as Pavia to their team. Maybe any player in the country.
Okay, we'll go to the break, and when we come back, it's Plaster Bet of the Day. It's time to get it rolling. Stick around.
This summer, the Legends of the West invite you to the Buffalo Center of the West in Cody, Wyoming. 5 museums come alive with timeless Western art, heroic tales, and native cultures. Experience live birds of prey, crackling chuck wagon dinners, and behind-the-scenes adventures. Just 50 miles from Yellowstone's East Gate, our doors open wide to explorers young and old. 1 ticket grants you 2 days, enough time to let curiosity lead the way. Visit centerofthewest.org.
This is the energy of the Acura TLX, the energy of form, with available A-Spec Sport Appearance package, and the energy of function. It doesn't just look fast, it is. The Acura TLX. This is the energy of innovation. Acura, precision crafted performance.
Experience the thrill at Gary Force Acura, proud sponsor of the Nashville Predators. GaryForceAcura.com.
It's the George Plaster Show. Your sports live here on 94.9 The Fan.
Final segment on a Monday. Time now for Bet of the Day, brought to you by Bart Durham Injury Law. We take a look at what happened over the weekend. The Mets could not get it done. So 16-13 is the new record.
Respectable.
Serviceable.
Yeah, we're going to give you 2 tonight and take a good look at the first one, because it won't happen very often.
Well, give me just a second. That would be Milwaukee, as I get these graphics up. Milwaukee.
Yes. Are the graphics coming in Central Time or Eastern Time?
George, that's a Doc and Billy's play. Just go ahead and put it down.
So I'm taking Milwaukee minus 135 in Atlanta against the old Bravos. Why am I doing that? Because Eric Fetty is pitching for Atlanta. He hadn't gotten anybody out in the last month and a half. There's a reason the Cardinals got rid of him. And, oh, by the way, the Brewers are red hot. They rolled into Washington and scored about 35 runs in a 3-game series. The other one that I'm taking tonight is the Cubs. I'm taking them minus 135 in the debut of recently acquired former Brave Mike Soroka against the Cincinnati Reds. And I, for one, will be rooting heavily for Mike Soroka.
Not bad, Mike.
Yeah. It's a good deal for him because he gets, first of all, he has done pretty darn well. He had, as a lot of y'all know, he was an all-star at one point going back to 2019 and then tore his Achilles on 2 different occasions. Kelly, we're just now getting the graphics.
Billy, that's the way to be on top of your job and be professional, Hoss. Great.
Absolutely. Great,
Billy,
great professionalism.
What happened?
Well, I just hadn't got him in yet. That's on me.
Okay.
Thought I did.
Okay. So we're done. There is a $100 fine. We'll do it all again tomorrow. Tony Basilio will join us at 3:20, and that right there says it'll be a good show. So, guys, behave until then. See you tomorrow.
See ya.